Morning. We just parked up on the shores of Loch Long in Arrochar, the Southwest Islands, where today we're going to do a route of Ben Arthur, or as it's commonly known, the Cobbler. So yeah, it's a beautiful day, bluebird day at the moment. We parked up, came out the car park, crossed the road and headed into the forest. The trail runs through the forest for about a mile and a half, 2 miles, before you come out into the clearing below Ben Narnain, where we'll see the magnificent sight of one of Scotland's most iconic mountains, the Cobbler. It's a very popular mountain. You'll see why in just a few minutes. We've came early. We were up out of bed at 3 o'clock this morning, in the car at 4, and we arrived in Arrochar at 7. It's now about 7:45. There's our destination, straight in front of us. What a fantastic looking mountain there. To our right we've got Ben Narnain, and to our left we've got the ridge we're going to come down, drop down a path somewhere along here to a dam and back over the burn. Just ahead of us here we've got the famous Narnain boulders, where back in the old pioneering days of rock climbing, the boys used to come up from Glasgow, and you can actually get underneath these boulders, and they used to sleep under them. When I did the Cobbler back in the winter with my Scottish friend Brian Thompson, local Scotsman Brian Thompson.
Good morning.
What Brian don't know about these hills in Scotland ain't worth knowing. We carried on up the valley and we turned left at a small lochen where we found the path up the other side, an easier path because the weather was snow and ice that day. This path up the front here looked pretty frozen up, so we took the easier option around the corner there. But today we're going to go for the more direct route up the path across the burn there where Billy is. You'll hit this post here marking it, so if you want to go an easier way, head up that way. We're going to cross the burn here and go up through them crags. I'll put you a link onto Brian's YouTube channel. He's got a lot of videos up in Scotland doing the Munros, doing the Cobbits. If you like Scottish mountains, give his channel a look out. And if you're watching Brian, all the very best to you, Mara. So this is all new path to me. We've never been up this one. Plenty of water on the path for Billy today. It's getting warm, but there's a nice breeze when you get out in the open. He's a rock star. Wow, look at that great big wall of rock just to the left of us. So far it's a cracking path. It's all been pitched. Nice easy steps. Like I say, as you can see, there's a lot of water on it, so in winter it'll freeze up hard. We're a bit higher up now and the path's starting to turn a little bit rougher. We're about 3/4 of the way up the front of the Cobbler now, and we've hit this big corrie. Over the other side of the corrie I can see a path leading across that ridge I mentioned earlier. Just above the corrie we've got this little gully to climb up. It's easy enough. It's actually slightly off the marked path on the map, but it's the obvious way, and a few people that were ahead of me came this way. He's up there ahead of me, so he's obviously keen on leading the way. It was easy enough, and the path's well trodden above it, swinging round in the direction of the summits. Behind me in the haze you can see Ben Lomond. I'm not convinced the weather's gonna stay like this all weekend. I think it's gonna break again tomorrow. So this is your north top, running across the ridge to the true summit, just behind that big buttress there, and then over to the south summit. I've just been talking to a guy from Campbelltown. I'm sorry I didn't get your name, mate, if you're watching the video. Give me some valuable information about the south summit, because it's a rock climb, but there's a bypass path around the side of it, so I'm going to go and check it out anyhow. He says it goes around the side and then drops down onto this ridge that we were going to go down. The guy I was speaking to had his climbing gear. He was going to be doing some climbing on the north summit behind me there. Look at them pitches, some cracking climbing territory up there. And our path just plods away nice and gradually. I put my sticks away because we had a few little hands-on stuff lower down, but it's not too bad. I thought it was going to get more scrambly, but it looks like there's a clear path weaving in and out the rocks. At the top of the collier, where this big cairn is, we're going to turn right and do an out and back to the north summit, just here. Look at that for a stone, just balancing there. Remember these plates, Brian? Covered in ice in the winter. Very, very slippery. I'm even going to avoid them in the summer. There's a groove here. That's the way up. Whoop. Lad's having a little bit scramble on the rock. At the top of them plates, you don't need to traverse them and claw your way up that way. It's not the route. The route turns left underneath this cliff face here, safely gets us round and onto the summit. Looks a bit daunting approaching it, but I've just checked it and it's fine. There you go. And here we have the Cobbler's North Peak, 870 metres. The last time I was here, there was no view whatsoever. Just look at the view today. Wow. Below the edge here is that cliff face that the guy's going to climb up. So I don't really need to get any closer. I'll let the drone do the work for me. If you don't like heights, you really don't want to be on the edge of here. Right then, from the North Peak, we're going to head over to the true summit, back down the path we came up, and then across the col at that cairn, or the bielak I should say. We've actually found an easier path which avoids them slabs completely. Drops us back down into the same bielak down here. Incidentally, that path there in the bielak running over that shoulder is the other path that we came up in the winter time, the easier path. So you could just come round from the bielak and come up this way. There you go, we're back in the bielak. There's our balancing rock, and there's our cairn. So the route from here is very clear, it's very well marked. That path there, the one we came up in the winter, is a very good escape route from here if weather came in bad. It certainly isn't a place you want to be lost on, in all honesty. A lot of these crags are dangerous, very dangerous. People have lost their lives on the Cobbler, so great care's needed. That's why we chose to come back in the summer in perfect conditions. I mean, look at that. You can just see the two boys on the summit. That's where we've just came down from. So this is the Cobbler's true summit, Ben Arthur, 884 metres to Corbett and a Madeline. You can actually thread the needle, go around the back and climb up onto the top, but we don't have to do that, do we, Billy? So we're going to drop down the other side of the summit onto this traverse path, which should lead us to the south summit, where we'll be looking for another traverse path. So we'll go and have a look to see if we can find it. If all else fails, we can easily come back. So we're getting a bit closer. Looks like there's a bit of a grassy arete runs over to the south summit. The south summit is a rope climb or a very hard scramble. Just down here, before this towering buttress, I'm hoping to find a path drops us down and round. Halfway across this grassy arete, the path does indeed drop down and bypass the south top, because that is no place for a walker. Reminds me of Pillar Rock in the Lake District, and neither's that. Here, look, it's running down there. and then down below the summit on a good clear path. It'll take us to that ridge that we spoke about early this morning, avoiding that scary looking thing behind us. Once you're on it, the path's very clear. Just here, look, where Billy is. Go on, lad. It'll drop us right the way down and then back up onto that ridge. The path clearly runs around the bottom of the pinnacle through all these boulders and rough ground. That's looking a bit better. We can see our way in front of us now. We need to be down on that ridge, and once we're on that ridge, I know there's a clear path all the way along it and then back into the burn. South Peak is now starting to drop behind us. It looks a little less scary from this side. I wouldn't have attempted to come down this way had the weather been bad, you know, not knowing the route, but we've clearly found it. We've spoke to a few people on the mountain that give us a little bit of guidance. I knew there was a way onto this ridge, but I just wasn't sure which way. Bill is there ahead of me, still on the path. So that's us almost down into the Bielak on that ridge. South summit is directly behind me now. And here's our route in front of us. It looks all grass and easy going. There you are. I look back at them 3 summits. South summit, the true summit, you can't see the actual top of it. South summit's in the way, and the north summit. There's actually a summit in the middle of the ridge. I think that's it, just over the way there. It's called t-Sron. Excuse my pronunciation if it's wrong, but it's a new hill for me and Billy. I'm almost certain we won't see many people on this ridge. This isn't your tourist path onto the Cobbler, so we should get a nice quiet afternoon. It's a little bit hazy today, but we got a cracking view of Loch Long below us. Loch Long's a sea loch, one of my favourites. I absolutely love this part of Scotland. In fact, it's definitely, if not my favourite part of Scotland. I just love where the mountains meet the lochs, the sea lochs especially. I used to do a lot of sea fishing, so I've fished in one or two of these sea lochs over the years around Ellensborough Way and Gourock, Loch Etive, Loch Long. So yeah, my love affair with Scotland started long before the mountains. We're on the summit in the middle of the ridge. I'm going to try and say its name again, but I'm going to attempt it in that Mr. Walk Island's voice. t-Sron. 614 metres. No cairn, no nothing. In fact, most people won't even know it's here. But it's a British hill, and it's number 1008 for our lad the Rockstar. We can see the whole route behind us now, so I'm going to give you a rundown of the route. We set off from Arrochar, went through the forest into the glen, where we followed the burn all the way underneath the flanks of Ben Narnain. We carried on until we got to the base of the Cobbler. We went straight up the middle of the Cobbler, found that Belach, then turned right and head up onto the north top, or the north peak. Dropping back down, we then head up onto the true summit. We dropped off the back of the true summit and found that traverse path which brought us all the way around the south peak and onto the ridge we're on now. The path does continue over the top and down the front, but we're looking for this one here. There you go. This will drop us down to the dam where we can cross the burn. This really is a wet path down. It's absolutely saturated, but we're almost back down at the dam now. So that's us back down to the burn and the dam. We're going to cross the burn, head back through the forest and back into Arrochar. Fantastic circular route over Ben Arthur, the Cobbler. So yeah, it's goodbye from me and goodbye from our lad the Rockstar, who's itching to get in that water. He's struggling to get in, so there's a way up the river there to get in the water. There's Jack. So today we're back in Scotland, parking up in the Pain Display car park at Arrochar. We took the footpath through the forest in the direction of the burn. Once reaching the burn, we head under the flanks of Ben Narnain, passing the Narnain boulders. So far up the burn we crossed it and started to steeply ascend to Ben Arthur, the Cobbler's north peak. Then passing the true summit we started to descend a traverse path underneath the south summit, crossing the ridge and the summit of t-Sron. Once reaching the end of the ridge we dropped down to the dam, back in the forest and back to the car park at Arrochar.